It's Tuesday morning, and we are still on Good Morning Anambra. And I think I don't know how I feel this morning, knowing that while coming to work, the roads were empty.
Yeah, very, very.
I saw just few vehicles on the road. And initially, I didn't actually understand Labour last night. I thought they've called up the strike. But it was this morning that it dawned on me. I had to go and read back the document that was sent out yesterday, and then realized that they are still negotiating. Maybe that's why
the roads were empty.
The roads were empty. So I don't know. What do you feel, Ajulu, about this whole strike?
Sincerely speaking, I feel that the force of the masses should be carried along, so that government will definitely know that they are feeling in their own responsibility, because Labour and all the other agencies are trying to see if by going on strike, the masses, Nigerians, you understand, can have some form of relief, because this burden is really, really.
And the thing is that, Ajulu, the thing is that the whole country was actually shut down yesterday.
Yes,
everybody
yes,
joined.
Exactly.
Yesterday while going home from office, I saw a filling station dispensing fuel. I had to run, even though I had already prepared and I had more than half a tank. I had to rush into the filling station and then
to add up.
And it was for the first time in my life I had my tank filled, because I didn't know what will happen tomorrow. Yes. Well, thanks for joining us, and we ask you to join us as we get prepared for the press review. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Press review this Tuesday morning. My name is Ifi Onachukwu.
And I'm Ajuluchukwu Okabwe.
Let's do justice to the papers that we have here. We have a guest in the house. I'm Olonya Obia. So, Ajulu.
Yeah, the guest we have this morning happens to be my namesake.
Wow.
We're there. Let me just say, Dominic Nnamdi Okabwe. He's a public affairs analyst.
Dominic, you're welcome to ABS Good Morning Anambra TV show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Well, let's quickly go over to. Okay, we have papers. We have about 7 papers to go through, and then we have the ABS website. And the papers to take a look at are the Daily Times, Vanguard, the Punch, the Daily Independent, the Guardian, Daily Trust, Tribune, and others. So join us as we take a look, a swipe at them. But let's start with the ABS website.
Yeah, let's see what we have for you on the ABS website. And the stories making the rounds on ABS website are: the first story is Anambra Police Command investigates dead baby dumped along Ifite Road, Oka. Anambra State Government trains stakeholders in automotive industry. And Egu Imoka Cultural Festival, Oka community showcases cultural heritage. And federal government partners Anambra State Government in tree planting in Nibo community. Wow, these are very, very interesting, but the first one is very, very disheartening to see this list. Yeah, very, very disheartening.
Yes, you see, I was shocked when I read the story. A baby dumped, it is unfortunate. So the question should be, if you are not ready to take care of a child, why giving birth to the child in the first place? There are things we need to understand. You see, there are things we can do for ourselves, and there are ones government can do. You know yourself, you know your capacity, you know your economic disposition. So if you really know that you are not yet, matured and economically buoyant to have a baby, it doesn't end by giving birth to a baby. It goes a long way to, ensure for the welfare of the person. Yeah. So why dumping a child along the road?
And I think the lady had other options. One, adoption.
Okay.
A lot of couples are looking.
Yes, you can still go to the orphanage homes, okay? Hand the child over to them. They will take care of it. There are people out there who are looking for babies. They can take care of the baby. Why the option of doing the other way around? It's quite unfortunate.
You know, some people have actually protested against teaching children, you know, sex education
Yes.
in primary school, secondary school. So do you think that that lady would have done better if she had some form of sexual education or sex education?
You see, most of these, it doesn't have to do with sex education, whether sex education or not. You can even see those who have gone through the 4 walls of the universities and they still make the same mistake. So can you now attribute it to poor sex education?
This mother is a university.
So it is just mindset and, you know, our ability to train our mind. Okay, self-discipline.
Yes.
Let's touch quickly. Anambra State government trains stakeholders in automotive industry.
Yeah, you see, this is a welcome development. Very welcome development because it's a partnership between the government and the people. You see, people talk about white-collar job. White-collar job cannot take you anywhere. What will make us economically viable as a state is this kind of gesture. Because when you are trained, it is part of the skills we're talking about. You know, when the governor talk about one youth to scale, it's part of the process, but this one is an advanced level. So when you equip people in their choosing area of profession and possibly sponsor them with capital, they can become employer of labor. What drives the economy is not government paid salary. It is the combined efforts of the entrepreneurs. Okay, it is actually the driving force. So I think that is the welcome development. Let government consolidate on it and let those beneficiaries be very, very committed so that at the end of the day, they will make a very productive impact towards, advancing the economy by bringing others. Because you are trained to train others. And that is how to go. So I welcome the development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's quickly go to the papers and we'll first of all go southeast, and that's the Daily Times, where we have some headlines, just a few of them for want of time. So we have the Daily Times there. We have federal government reaches compromise with organized labor amidst nationwide strike, commits to pay national minimum wage above 60,000 naira. And if you go up, you see at the mast we have NLC refutes TCN's alleged falsehood amidst nationwide strike. Finance is open. Okay, going down, we have Tinubu to Nigerians, put nation first, rise above politics for greater success, calls unity of purpose to enhance Nigeria's infrastructural development. And going down, Heritage Bank finally sinks as CBN removes life support. Okay. Abia soldiers killing, Kalu inaugurates peace fund for victims. Federal government plans brigade to promote citizenship, core values. And finally, Niger government signs engagement bond with 30 students. Well, let's take a look at these headlines.
Yes.
I don't know. I took a look at, Labour and TUs and TCN, having talking about falsehood amidst nationwide strike. Remember that TCN actually made a press release saying that they were molested, the staff were molested by NLC and all this, that it was deliberate, and all this. So, what do you think about this situation? Do you think Labour was doing its duty, or did he meddle into TCN affairs?
Okay. Fundamentally, the issue between the TCN and the NLC is as a result of the agitation by the NLC. We all know that NLC is the core agent that is driving this force. The TCN, the other part, is just an incorporated body. Do you understand? Like we have the formal sector and the informal sector, the conventional and the non-conventional. But the whole essence of bringing them together is to make a huge impact. Because if NLC is left alone to fight the war, the nation and the government may not feel the impact. That is the essence of bringing them in.
I think these people are the people that transmit power.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, let us. Okay.
Yeah.
You see, but let us be specific, because I want us to face the reality on ground. The reality on ground is that government need to do something. This issue of trying to do a kind of divide and rule politics. So when both of us are fighting for a common force now, and you think I'm rigid, and the other person is flexible, you will now go to the person that looks more flexible to see if you can lure the person into your camp, so that the person will start sabotaging the effort of the other person. So if they agreed to have a nationwide strike, why can't the TCN comply? Because they are part of the process.
Exactly.
So why are they relying on their own part? So if government is trying to bring them to their own side so that they can sabotage the effort of NLC by coming up with this kind of story, how can NLC threaten the TCN? It's not possible now. Okay. It's an allegation. To attract sympathy and see how they can sabotage the ongoing strike.
Okay, now talking about the FG reaching a compromise with organized labor and a strike, and then not actually coming to a standpoint. Is this 60,000 naira? They just said 60,000 naira.
They commit to add.
To add. So
is it 1 naira they are going to?
Already people have, people, like the stories I heard yesterday, verified stories I heard yesterday. Nigerians now. Rumor is always key in every event. So the stories I heard yesterday was that maybe Ghana must have passed hand. But for me, I don't see this happening already. Now.
You see,
has been very honest.
This fight has gone beyond personal interest.
Yes.
The NLC is talking about the interest of the common Nigerians, because 70% of the people affected, they are Nigerians. So if federal government is talking about 60,000, and later yesterday I said they will add something on top of that 60,000 without being specific, there is fair play. If what we are going to pay is 100,000, be specific. If it is 65,000, be specific. But I think that is why the negotiation has proceeded, because from what I read, they said the negotiation continues. But why the negotiation continues? Is the NLC going to call off the strike? The answer is no, because they have not come up to say the strike will have to be suspended while the negotiation is ongoing.
They didn't give us 5 days.
Do you understand? And look at the painful aspect of it. Just a day, Nigeria lost billions of naira, both from formal sector and the informal sector. Beyond that, you look at the sufferings of the masses. You see, there are things government don't allow to happen. You may be protecting your interests, but you look at the collective interests of the whole Nigerians. I saw people stranded at the airport yesterday. Some of them not even have extra money to lodge, preparing for the flight the next day, any day it will commence. Okay? So you look at certain conditions, and then this labor union, they have been agitating for this before now. Yesterday wasn't the day they came up with it. And there was a committee set up to look into their demands. And since ever the committee was set up, nothing tangible was done by the government. So it was when they declared the strike yesterday that every effort was, the SSG, the secretary to the government of the federation, called a meeting with the Minister for Information and Orientation. All this effort is to see how they can end it. You can't end it a day, because there are things that are agitating for, and government is not coming up with something tangible. So government have to step up. They need to, do something that is realistic.
Okay.
It is not yet,
What about the Heritage Heritage Bank thing, at some point, some people were disputing it, that they had to escalate a document saying that, a document that they said CBN released, absorbing themselves, from that initial release that
the bank has gone themselves.
I said I got the information from credible sources, so it couldn't have been a child's play. Actually, Heritage Bank, is having issues.
Yes.
Is applied as the common man who patronize banks like Heritage Bank.
The stabilization policy of the CBN is meant to save depositors from this kind of story. Yes, Heritage Bank had an issue. From what I read, customers who deposit money were asked to exercise patience, that certain recovery will be done and their money will be paid to them. It is obvious. Whether there is any document, that is that is in circulation, trying to reverse what has been said earlier, it has not been made open, because the general notion is that they have issue with CBN. They didn't comply with the regulatory policies. And the essence of that stabilization policy is to make sure that banks don't disappoint people, just like what we used to hear in the past. It was Soludo during his era as CBN governor that introduced it. And the Nigerians have benefited, in a very huge manner since the stabilization policy. So at least if you deposit your money in the bank, you have confidence. Not by tomorrow they will tell that the bank has folded and your money gone. It's unfair.
Yeah. Let's go to the next paper we have for review this morning, and that's the Vanguard newspaper. The banner headline is still screaming, Labour shocked as Nigeria wage talks resume today. And the writers there are saying, soldiers bar journalists from OSGF as Akume meets Labour. FG asks Labour to return to negotiations. Tinubu, Akpabio, Abbas meet in Aso Rock. Army dismisses NLC allegation on surrounding meeting venue. Blockout looms as workers shut down power sector.
Awkward. No, we've not had license.
Oil workers stop fuel distribution. All airports nationwide, banks, schools, airports shut.
It was a total
Flights
shutdown.
Grounded, passengers stranded. Federal government Labour must return to negotiation table to avert mass suffering. LP, that's coming from LP. Muslim pilgrims stranded as strike forces planes to return empty to Saudi Arabia. Consider workers' plight, take action to implement living wage. Khan tells federal government, well, a whole lot happening in Nigeria. Why we revoked Heritage Bank, that's what you see there at the top of the newspaper. NAMA MD wants reversal of 50% IGR deduction in interest of safety. Presidential committee canvasses 1% revenue cost of collection. Government reforms shouldn't push Nigerians into poverty. That's coming from Ajero. That's all that we have for you.
Okay.
On the Vanguard.
Do you want to talk on any of these? The picture was a gory picture of a country shut down.
Total shutdown. And still we're back to
we were getting stories. Nurses and midwives joined. That was the story we were hearing. These people have joined.
You see, there is this notion in politics that says if you want to fight a man and cripple him, look for his source of funding, his economic strength. The moment you cripple his economic strength, he will come back to say, let's negotiate. Just like what happened during the Nigerian Biafra Civil War, when the Biafran were making a huge impact. The Nigerian government knew that the only way to confiscate them is to cut the supply of food items. And once that was done, hunger. Okay, that is exactly what is happening in this process. Because if NLC did not bring in other sister bodies like the TCN, the Trade Union Congress, and what have you, this impact wouldn't have, it wouldn't have made impact this way. They shocked the economy, and the government was forced to, be practical and pragmatic. But I was not comfortable with the reports that says the military surrounded the venue of the negotiation. Yes. Such action, if true, is highly intransigent and preposterous. It is unacceptable, unethical, and cannot be, accepted. If you call somebody for negotiation, you make the ground highly comfortable for the person. The presence of the military is to intimidate the NLC. Do you understand? And this is ideological war. You don't do it by force.
Okay, I think we'll have to avoid that of Labour when we go to Delhi Independent. That's the next paper, Delhi Independent. We need to avoid anything because all the papers are carrying stories about Labour. So we'll go up at the mast. We will abide by FG's decision on state police, says IGP. Ask NLC, TUC to shelve illegal strike. NLC accuses FG of intimidation over national grid shutdown. Still about the what's it called?
Yeah.
What we talked about earlier.
Yes.
About the transmission company.
Yes.
Okay. Then going down, we have this. LP Sislak asked federal government Labour to dialogue in Nigeria's interest. Stakeholders worry over timing of Heritage Bank's license revocation. NDIC commences bank liquidation to pay depositors, and reps assure on safeguarding depositors' fund. And the last one is NMA assures on continued service amidst Labour strike. That's the Nigeria Medical Association. I think we need that assurance. Knowing that if you shut down every place and the hospitals are now working, what will be our plight? We will leave to enjoy the outcome of the negotiation.
For the better tomorrow we have been promised.
Exactly. So let's take a look at what the police are saying about Labour.
Yes.
Was strike being illegal?
Yes, the police boss went to Lagos yesterday, though he was represented by the operational head of the Southwest. And while he was commending the officers for their effort towards providing security for the nation, he reminded them that the police alone cannot do the job. Recently you see confrontation between the various security agencies in the course of their duty. So he made them to understand that the police alone cannot safeguard the nation. Therefore, they need the assistance of other police or other security agencies. Then on the issue of state police, he said they will comply with the decision of the federal government. And of course, what do you expect?
Who pays the...
Okay, who pays you? Yeah. So, initially, there was a kind of disagreement between the IGP and the president and so many stakeholders over this. Okay, where he was saying that Nigeria is not yet ripe for state police because we've not gotten the professional knowledge and the maturity to manage it. He highlighted the challenges we are facing now that is under the exclusive list. What do you think you expect when it is zeroed down to state? When he said the state governors will turn hijack the security process. So, but now he's saying whatever the federal government decides, the police will abide. Do you understand? So his position was explicit.
Okay. So let's take the next paper.
The next paper is the Guardian newspaper, and the banner headline is still talking about the Labour. Business is grown as Labour grounds economic activities. And
I'm even groaning with the businesses.
You can see pictures of people stranded at airports and the courthouses and the rest of it. Or the strike. Pakistan shuts down National Assembly, cuts electricity supply. NLC tackles federal government National Assembly for prioritizing national anthem bill over workers' welfare. Wow. Judicial discretion. when bench disposition goes against the law,
Yes.
that's what we are saying here. Mandate INEC to learn from South Africa's coup, Uriwa tells National Assembly. And that's much of all we have here. You can see the picture of, I think, the new takeover of the Zenith Bank. But
Okay.
then, this issue of business grounding as labor grounds economic activities,
Yes.
does it mean that governments are not sensitive to the plight of those that they are, governing?
They are, but their concerns are not enough. They are, because when they were sworn in, they swore in to protect the interests of the Nigerian people and look after their welfare. This is part of the mandate. But the question you ask yourself is, we have needs and we have wants. If the resources available to you is not enough, you now go by scale of preference, by identifying your needs and your wants. And I believe if the resources is not enough, you go by what you need and not what you want. Do you understand? And this is where some stakeholders are going against the federal government. You know that the high cost of living is high now. So why spending 90 billion naira on Hajj?
Subsidy.
Okay?
And some of them are even stranded. They said that they are going to
Okay?
to.
When you have people, you are workers in the workforce, those who drive the economy, crying on daily basis. Look at the situation we are facing. We are paying somebody 60,000, and that person has a family. He transports him or herself to the place of work and come back. A bag of rice is not less than 60,000 today. So government should think in this direction. Labor at the same time should also know that when they initially when they proposed 495,000,
Yeah.
government certainly will not go by that. But at least we are looking at a ground that will be more, a more negotiable. Government may come up to 200, 100, or 150. Coming to 60 is an indirect way of saying that we don't care about.
But okay, you don't forget that the private sector is still part of that negotiation with the government, because now if the government is willing to pay 100,000, can the private sector pay? So they are trying to get a level playing field for both the private sector and then for the civil servants.
It is a known fact, because even when it was agreed formally or previously that the minimum wage should be 30,000, some state government did not pay. Okay? It was the federal government that adopted it. It took some states some time before they comply. So while setting out the condition, part of the criteria should be there will be a separate discussion, because you can't ask a private investor to pay the same thing with government. The private sector must have their own way of managing their. Do you understand? But there should be a benchmark for them.
But that private sector they have more labor, as a more labor force than even the federal government.
Yes, like a senior advocate of Nigeria was discussing yesterday in Channels Television.
Yeah.
He said he had over 15 workers working under him, and some of them have stayed with him for 20 years. So if you ask him to double the salary, he cannot afford it, because personally he doesn't have the resources to do that. The best he can do is to discharge like 10 of them and go by 5. So you are also creating unemployment by trying to bring up their welfare. So it is a very delicate matter that must be sensitively handled.
As delicate as it is right now, can Nigeria go through another shutdown of the economy for a week, 2 weeks, or even a month? You remember the story of COVID, and now APC, this present government under the last dispensation, kept saying that the reason why the economy is nosediving is because we are yet to recover from the COVID shutdown. So can we delve again into something closer, even though this one is self-inflicted?
Obviously, it will not be in the interest of the Nigerian people and even the government for this strike to linger. That is the obvious fact. But at the same time, we must realize that we are human beings. Okay? While labor is expected to shift ground, the government is also, even when the labor is making a demand of 400 and something, they know it is not realistic. They know it is not doable. They know that it is not going to come into play. They are just putting a demand so that at the end of the day, there will be something that is reasonable. So I'm not holding brief for either labor or the government, but both knows what needs to be done. I believe that if the federal government says we are benching it at the rate of 100,000 naira now, the NLC will agree. But where the issue will come is the private sector, which has become an instrumental part of this process. Yeah. That is why I said there will be another separate discussion, because the private sector will decide what they will pay, because government is not going to pay for them. Look at our problem. Our problem is not the issue on ground. It's not the issue of increment in salary. Our problem is how best for government to cut the cost of living. Even if you are paying a civil servant 450,000 today, it will still not be enough. They will come up the next day to demand for more, because that 400,000 naira cannot buy something in the open market. Let's, for example, a liter of fuel now is 800 and something naira, a liter. And for you to go to a village and come back, you must buy up to 15 liters. Okay? The same thing across every other commodity. Government should do more by, investing in those areas that consumes our resources. Why would the nation be importing fuel, petroleum products refining them from abroad, while we can fix our own here and bring down the cost of living? The moment a liter of fuel is, we need to do what we call liberalization in the fuel products. Let government give license to individuals who are ready to invest. By then, they will bring down the cost of petroleum products, and that will go a long way to bring down the cost of living. You cannot monopolize the sector and then introduce another indirect form of subsidy while telling us that it has been removed. Why are we still importing abroad? Something we have here.
And Labour also tackled federal government on something, prioritizing national anthem bill over workers' welfare.
That is not even our problem. The national anthem, the old one that was brought, into play, was not our problem. Going to Mecca or whatever, it's not our problem. So that is why I said we must look between our wants and our needs. We are facing a challenge, yes, we know. The resources is not enough, but some things to be done is enormous. So we must find out which one do we really need. Those things we are doing now is not actually our problem. Has anybody complained of the national anthem? How many of Nigerians know how to sing this very one now? How many of them? Can you sing it? Can you sing it?
I think she probably...
I started,
let me meet.
Yesterday, that was all we discussed.
Okay.
We went for that program before I moderated.
Okay. I was trying to do this one. If I read the first answer, this concept becomes a problem. I go back again. So it's a problem. So instead of thinking on the best way to harness our potential and bring our economy to a very stable condition, we are thinking about how to learn a new national anthem.
Okay, on Daily Trust, we have just, we might not go through it because it's still the same thing, minimum wage, labor strike, grounds activities nationwide. And then we'll go to Tribune.
Let's see what we have on the Tribune, and then quickly, minimum wage total shut down as NLC TUC begin strike. CBN revokes Heritage Bank's license. We've seen that Presidential Tax Reform Committee mulls Nigeria Revenue Services to replace FIRS. And then we have police will abide by federal government's decision on state policing. We've talked about that tragedy at Force headquarters as DCP dies in office. Wow, that's a sad one there. Army hands over 8 rescued students to Kogi government, and that's all that we have there.
That's all we have, and I think
there's a story that skipped my mind. I wanted us to just talk a little bit about. I think it's on the first paper. Our federal government plans brigade to promote citizenship.
Daily Times.
And core values. I think way back in the 80s, or shall be 90s, we had something close to this in war against indiscipline.
Yes.
That was under the military
regime.
You understand? And though I was very young then, but I knew that brigade or whatever really sensitized, and there was this impact it had in Nigeria, because even though as a kid then I could remember older people telling me that if they go to bank, they queue, they go to bus stop to board a vehicle, they all queue. You know, there was some form of sanity within the country, that you don't just throw papers or things, refuse, indiscriminately, and that there were sanitation marshals that go around, making sure that your homes and your business places are clean. I don't know if that can be reintroduced rather than this core citizenship, because where will you begin this core citizenship and promotion of core values? As in, where is it going to be in our curriculum in schools? Because already there's citizenship education in schools.
Yes.
And I don't think it has that weight of teaching these youngsters on values and being patriotic.
You see, these are ways of accumulating our problems too. Because we are going to engage people to monitor and sensitize people. Those who have already are complaining that they are not well paid. You are introducing another system. You see, for us to change our mindset and bring a value system back, it is not only the responsibility of the government. The parents must start with it, the church, the school. If the parents can do their job effectively, the school and the church, we may not even need this brigade you're talking about to chase people outside there. Tell me whom your parents is, and I will tell you how you act. If you have a good parenting, good homes that instill discipline, morality in their children, by the time they grow and go to the labor market or wherever they may face, they will be a better person. So introducing this aspect of burden to checkmate people, people who are already corrupt from their family, is the kind of chasing clouds. It's a white elephant project.
Okay, thank you very much, Conrad, for joining us. We want to thank you immensely, viewer, for joining us on the program, and we'll ask you to please go to any vendor's point and pick the papers that we have taken a look at for details on it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, it's always a pleasure serving you. And then there is still another segment that we'll be joining.
Thank you, Dominic. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, our viewers.
Okay.
Meet you next time.
Yes. My name is Ify, and
I'm Okagwe.
Okay, we'll bring you one of our programs. Not a live one, but we'll bring you something we did yesterday that was very, very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us.